but with ourselves, that silent voice in the head, always speaking, always commenting, always judging. Some of you may think, oh, I don't really talk to myself. Trust me, you do. Right now, some of you are saying in your mind, do I really talk to myself? See, you just did it again. That inner dialogue is like a radio station that never stops broadcasting. It speaks when we are happy. It speaks when we are sad. It speaks when we are confused. And sometimes it speaks so loudly that even when the whole world is quiet, inside us there is a storm. We can turn off our phones. We can switch off the television. But how do you switch off your mind? You can't. Because self-talk is constant. It doesn't stop for weekends. It doesn't take holidays. It doesn't even let you sleep peacefully sometimes. The real question is not, am I talking to myself? The real question is, what am I saying to myself? If your inner voice is always doubting you, always criticizing you, always reminding you of your weaknesses, then you are living with an enemy in your own head. And if your inner voice is encouraging, supportive, gentle, and kind, then you are living with the best friend you could ever have. Think about this. When a child takes their first step and falls, what do parents say? Do they shout, "You useless baby, you can't even walk properly"? Of course not. They smile, they clap, they say, "Come on, you can do it. One more step." That encouragement makes the child try again until walking becomes natural. Now imagine if your parents had only criticized you. In that moment, most of us would still be crawling today. But here's the irony. As we grow up, we stop clapping for ourselves. We stop encouraging ourselves. Instead, we replace it with constant criticism. I am not good enough. I will fail again. Others are better than me. And that constant self-talk shapes our confidence, our emotions, and even our destiny. The voice in your head is like a compass. It quietly directs which way your life will go. So, my friends, understand this deeply. Self-talk is not a small thing. It is the most powerful conversation you will ever have. It's constant, it's unavoidable. And therefore, it is your responsibility to choose whether it will be destructive or constructive. Because you can't control if the mind speaks, but you can control how it speaks. And when you take charge of that voice, even for 3 days, you will see how much lighter, happier, and more confident your life feels. My dear friends, let me share something very simple, yet very profound. The words you speak, not just to others, but to yourself, are not just sounds, they are seeds. And seeds, when planted, grow into entire gardens. In the same way, the words you repeatedly say to yourself, even silently in your mind, become the world you live in. Have you noticed this? If you wake up in the morning and the first thought you say to yourself is, "Oh no, today is going to be terrible," suddenly the whole day feels heavy. You haven't even stepped out of bed, yet your words have already created your emotional weather. It's like carrying a dark cloud over your head wherever you go. But if you wake up and say, "I'm grateful for this new day, let's see what I can make of it," suddenly, without even changing your circumstances, your whole energy feels lighter. Words are not ordinary. They are powerful vibrations. Every culture, every tradition, every spiritual practice in the world has understood the power of words. Why do people pray? Why do they chant mantras? Why do they repeat affirmations? Because words create worlds. They shift how we feel, how we think, and how we act. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two people who both fail an exam. The first one says to himself, "I am so stupid. I will never succeed." His words create a world of hopelessness. He stops trying, he avoids studying. And eventually, his life follows the path of those words. The second person also fails the same exam, but he says to himself, "Okay, I didn't pass this time. But I can learn, I can improve, I will try again." His words create a world of possibilities. He studies harder, he keeps going, and eventually, success becomes his reality. Same situation, different self-talk, different world. Have you seen how some people constantly tell themselves, "I'm unlucky, I'm unlucky." And guess what? Life keeps proving them right. Others keep telling themselves, "I'm learning, I'm growing," and life also proves them right. Why? Because the words you repeat become the lens through which you view everything around you. There's a famous saying, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Why? Because your words are shaping your inner world, and your inner world decides how you act in the outer world. If you keep saying, I'm scared," you live in a world of fear. If you keep saying, "I'm courageous, I'm strong," you live in a world of confidence. So I want you to remember this: your life is not just happening to you. Your life is also being narrated by you. The words you use are writing the story you're living. If you don't like the story, change the words, because words create worlds. And when you begin to speak better words to yourself, even for just 3 days, you will start noticing that the world around you begins to look brighter, opportunities begin to appear, and challenges become easier to handle. My dear friends, if there's one thing most of us have mastered in life, it is the art of being our own worst critic. Think about it. If someone else spoke to us the way we speak to ourselves, we probably wouldn't even want to be around them. But because it's our own voice, we allow it. And sadly, we've become so used to it that we don't even notice how cruel and unfair we can be to ourselves. Imagine this: you make a small mistake at work. Maybe you forget to send an email. Maybe you mess up a presentation slide. What does that voice inside your head say? "You're so careless. You always ruin things. You'll never get this right." Now pause for a second and ask yourself, would you ever speak to your friend like that if they made the same mistake? No, you'd probably say, "Hey, don't worry. It happens. You'll do better next time." But when it comes to ourselves, the kindness disappears. Suddenly, we transform into the harshest judge, jury, and executioner. Criticism has its place, of course. We need honest reflection to grow. But self-criticism is very different from self-awareness. Awareness points out the mistake and shows a way to improve. Criticism, on the other hand, attacks your worth as a person. It doesn't say, "You made a mistake." It says, "You are a mistake." And when you keep hearing that inner judgment again and again, it slowly starts to poison your confidence. Many of us live with scars, not because of what others told us, but because of what we kept telling ourselves. A single failure becomes a lifelong label. I failed once, so I must be a failure. A single rejection becomes a permanent identity. They didn't accept me, so I must not be good enough. The tragedy is not in the mistake itself. The tragedy is in the way we repeat that mistake to ourselves every single day in the form of self-criticism. Let me give you a small story. There was a young boy learning how to play the piano. Every time he played a wrong note, he would stop and shout at himself, "You're useless, you'll never learn." One day, his teacher looked at him and said, "Do you know what the real mistake is? It's not the wrong note. It's the wrong words you're speaking to yourself. Because if you keep calling yourself useless, you will start believing it, And then even the right notes will sound wrong. The boy slowly realized that mistakes are part of learning, but criticism kills the courage to continue. My friends, you don't need to be your own enemy. The world outside already has enough critics. There will always be people ready to doubt you, ready to put you down. But don't add your own name to that list. If you want to grow, you need encouragement, not condemnation. And the most powerful encouragement you can ever receive is not from others, but from within. So next time you make a mistake, instead of saying, "I'm terrible," try saying, "I'm learning." Instead of saying, "I always fail," try saying, "This time I didn't succeed, but next time I'll be better." Instead of being your own harshest critic, become your own best coach. Because criticism drains your energy, but compassion gives you the courage to keep trying. Remember this, you don't need to tear yourself down to grow. You need to lift yourself up. And the moment you stop being your own critic and start being your own supporter, life becomes a lot lighter, challenges become easier, and growth becomes natural. My dear friends, one of the biggest mistakes we make in the way we talk to ourselves is this. We focus more on what we fear rather than what we want. We keep affirming the negative, not realizing that every time we repeat it, we are watering the weeds instead of the flowers. Think about it. How many times have you caught yourself saying things like, "I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'll probably fail again. What if things go wrong?" These phrases sound small, but they are like poison drops that, over time, paralyze your courage. And here's the irony, most of the time, what we fear doesn't even happen, but because we kept feeding it with words, our mind created such a powerful story of fear that it became our reality. Let me tell you a little story. A man was walking through a dark forest at night. He kept saying to himself, "There must be ghosts here. Something will attack me. I'm sure I'll be harmed." With every step, his heart raced faster, his body shook, his imagination ran wild. Finally, he tripped over a rock and fell flat on the ground. The next morning, he woke up and realized there were no ghosts. There was nothing chasing him. The only thing that had attacked him the night before was his own mind. This is what happens to all of us. We don't realize that by saying, "I can't, I won't, I shouldn't," we are programming our minds for failure before even trying. And what's worse, the brain doesn't argue. If you say, "I can't do this," your brain accepts it like a command and shuts down creativity. If you say, "This is impossible," your brain stops searching for solutions. But the opposite is also true. If you say, "I will figure this out," your brain immediately begins looking for ways to make it happen. Let me ask you, when you encourage a child who is learning to ride a bicycle, what do you say? Do you shout, "Don't fall, don't crash, don't embarrass yourself"? Of course not. You say, "Come on, you can do this, keep pedaling." Balance yourself, and that positive instruction helps them learn faster. Now imagine if the child only heard the negative. They'd be so scared of falling that they would never learn to ride. And yet, isn't that exactly what we do to ourselves as adults? We talk more about falling than riding, more about failing than succeeding. So here's the shift: stop affirming what you fear and start affirming what you want. Instead of, "I'll fail," say, "I will learn." Instead of, "I can't," say, "I will try." Instead of, "What if it goes wrong?" say, "What if it goes right?" Because both are possibilities, but only one empowers you. A small change in language makes a huge change in life. "I can't lose weight" becomes, I'm learning to take care of my body. I'm terrible at speaking becomes I'm becoming more confident each time I practice. I never succeed becomes I am on my way to success. Do you see the difference? One way of talking kills hope. The other way of talking plants hope. And my dear friends, hope is like oxygen for the soul. Without it, you suffocate. With it, you rise. So don't let your self-talk keep feeding your fears. Start feeding your faith. Speak in the language of possibility, not limitation. Speak in the language of growth, not defeat. Because here is the truth. Your mind is always listening. If you keep telling it what you fear, it will obey and make you live small. If you keep telling it what you want, it will obey and push you to live big. For 3 days, just 3 days, talk to yourself in the language of faith, courage, and possibility, and watch how your entire perspective begins to change. My dear friends, let me ask you something very simple. If a little child you loved came running to you, crying because they made a mistake, how would you respond? Would you scold them harshly? Would you say, "You are so useless, you'll never get anything right"? No, you would kneel down, wipe their tears, hug them, and say, "It's okay. My dear, mistakes happen. Try again, I believe in you." Because kindness is natural when we care for someone. But here's the strange part of life: when it comes to ourselves, we forget that same kindness. We are gentle with others, but brutal with ourselves. We forgive others, but we punish ourselves. We encourage others, but we constantly put ourselves down. And yet, the person who needs our kindness the most is not always the world outside. It is the world inside. Think about it. Every day you live with yourself. Every morning you wake up, the first voice you hear is your own. Every night before sleeping, the last thoughts you hear are your own. And throughout the day, whether you are at work, at home, or even sitting quietly, you are constantly in conversation with yourself. Now, if that conversation is harsh, negative, and judgmental, then you are carrying an enemy inside your own mind. But if that conversation is gentle, compassionate, and kind, then you are carrying a friend who will never leave you. Let me tell you a story. There was once a school teacher who noticed that one of her students, a little girl, kept saying, "I'm stupid. I can't do anything right." The teacher gently walked up to her and asked, "Would you ever say that to your best friend?" The little girl replied, "No, of course not. I would never hurt her feelings." The teacher smiled and said, "Then why do you hurt yourself by saying it to your own heart?" That day, the little girl realized that she deserved the same kindness she so easily gave to others. My friends, you may not realize it, but your mind is very much like that little child. It learns through the words you feed it. If you keep feeding it harshness, it will shrink. If you feed it kindness, it will grow. Just like a plant needs sunlight and water to flourish, your heart needs gentle words and encouragement to thrive. And kindness in self-talk doesn't mean ignoring mistakes or pretending everything is perfect. It simply means acknowledging the mistake with compassion instead of cruelty. For example, if you missed an opportunity, instead of saying, "I'm such a failure," you can say, "I missed this one, but I can prepare better for the next." If you forgot something important, instead of saying, "I'm so careless," you can say, "Let me work on being more mindful." The mistake is the same, but the way you speak to yourself decides whether you drown in guilt or rise with growth. When you talk kindly to yourself, you create an inner environment of safety, and in that safe space, you feel free to try, to experiment, to fail, and to grow. without the constant fear of self-punishment. Just like a child blossoms in the presence of loving parents, you will blossom when you learn to parent yourself with love. So for the next 3 days, I want you to try this. Whenever you catch yourself speaking harshly inside, pause and ask, if I were talking to someone I deeply loved, what words would I use? Then use those same words for yourself. Because here's the truth. You are also someone you should deeply love. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Because when your self-talk is filled with kindness, your heart feels lighter, your mind becomes clearer, and your life feels brighter, and you'll realize something powerful. You didn't need the world to treat you better. You just needed to treat yourself better. My dear friends, let's be honest. Life is already full of challenges, isn't it? There are deadlines at work, responsibilities at home, unexpected problems, and sometimes people who doubt us or criticize us. Now imagine if, in addition to all of that, you also have yourself constantly discouraging you. How heavy would that feel? And sadly, that's what most of us do. Instead of being our own cheerleader, we become our own heckler. Instead of lifting ourselves up, we drag ourselves down. Think about a sports match. Imagine a football team running onto the field, and as they line up, they suddenly hear their own coach shouting, "You guys are terrible! You'll never win!" You're going to embarrass yourselves. What do you think will happen? Before the match even begins, they've already lost. Why? Because the one person who was supposed to encourage them has destroyed their confidence. Now, my friends, the question is, aren't we doing the same thing to ourselves? Every time we say, "I can't do this, I'm not capable, I'll probably fail again," we are acting like that coach who discourages his own team. But when we say, "I can handle this, I'll try my best, I'll figure it out," we are giving ourselves the energy to keep going. Encouragement is like fuel. Without it, the car doesn't move. With it, even a small vehicle can travel far. In the same way, without self-encouragement, even the most talented person will remain stuck. With self-encouragement, even an ordinary person can achieve extraordinary things. Let me share a little story. There was once a man trying to climb a mountain. As he was halfway up, he grew tired and thought of giving up. Suddenly, he heard two voices in his head. One voice said, "You're exhausted. You'll never make it. Just give up and go back down." The other voice said, "You're almost there. Just a little more effort. Keep going. You can do it." Now here's the interesting part. Both voices were his own. Which one do you think he listened to? He chose the encouraging voice. And because he chose that step by step, he eventually reached the top. In real life, we also carry those two voices inside us, the critic and the encourager. The one you feed is the one that grows stronger. If you keep repeating discouragement, your courage shrinks. But if you keep repeating encouragement, your courage expands. And encouragement doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as saying to yourself, "Come on, let's try. One step at a time. I've handled worse before. I'll get through this too." These small, gentle words act like a hand on your back, pushing you forward when you feel like stopping. Let me ask you, if you were running a marathon, would you want people on the sidelines shouting, "You're too slow, you'll never finish"? Or people shouting, "Come on, keep running, you're doing great"? Obviously, you'd want encouragement. Then why run the marathon of life with discouraging words in your own head? Be the person cheering for yourself, not the one booing yourself. For the next 3 days, try this. Whenever you face a challenge, pause and ask yourself, what words would give me energy right now? And then speak those words to yourself, loudly if you have to. You'll be surprised how much strength you find within. Because here's the truth, my dear friends, motivation doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes the most powerful motivation is the voice that whispers inside you, you can do this. And when you make that voice louder than the voice of discouragement, you will discover a new level of resilience, a new level of courage, and a new level of joy in living. Encourage yourself, don't discourage yourself. Be your own supporter, not your own enemy. Because in the end, the only person who will be with you in every single moment of your life is you. So be the kind of companion who inspires you to keep going, my dear friends. There is one habit that can completely transform the way you speak to yourself, and that is the habit of gratitude. You see, when you live without gratitude, your self-talk usually sounds like this: I don't have enough. I'm not good enough. I should be further in life by now. Others are ahead of me. And when your inner dialogue is always about what's missing, no matter what you achieve, it will never feel like enough.